everybody. Mark Herman, aka LA Bengal fan on all the major platforms, and I'm joined by Sam Schneider here on this somber Sunday afternoon, where the Bengals never got off the bus. But we'll get into all of this stuff. Sam, before I forget, why don't you tell everybody where they can find your stuff?
Of course, you can find me on Twitter at Buy and Sell You. Also, I write for Primetime Sports Talk. You can find us on Twitter at Talk Primetime.
There you go. All right. So as you know, we go through the good and the bad. We do the bad first. And I got to tell you, I have like 3/4 of a page of bad, and it's a lot. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 goods. And one of them, yeah, I figured you had to say, and one of my goods is something that was said at Burrow's presser. So that's not even something from the game.
Right.
So we're pretty lean on the good today, and we're very heavy on the bad, but with the outcome today and the way they played, that's understandable. The first thing I'm going to talk about, and I know I sound like I'm beating a drum again and again and again, but situational football. And here's just the abridged list. I've cut out a lot of these things. Okay. Second Ravens drive, we don't stop them on a 3rd and long. That ends up leading to a touchdown. Going forward on 4th down from the 37, Burrow has the underneath man. He decides he's going to go big with Tyler Boyd and overthrows him. We don't keep the drive growing. We crossed midfield on 3 of our first 4 possessions, and yet we could not get that extra first down to lead to points because of situational decisions that were bad. First possession of the second half, we break from tradition and we don't bring Gio in to block for Burrow on an obvious passing down. Mixon misses the block. Burrow's blown up. Once again, that was one where we were at or near midfield and didn't capitalize on. We had a stupid personal foul by Dunlap after he didn't contain Lamar and let him get out. We're moving the ball in the end of 3rd, 4th quarter. Thomas, for whatever reason, tries to fight for that extra yard, is stripped. That leads to a touchdown. We had numerous chances to sack Lamar, didn't do it. He gets missed every time, and he ends up making us pay. So, I mean, there's just all those situational football. Just, I don't know about you, but my head was going to blow up today. There was so much bad situational football.
Yeah, I think the most frustrating thing is, and I mentioned this in one of our videos, maybe before the Jacksonville game. It's a lack of consistency. We've got a lot of guys that are showing flashes of how good they can be, and then the following week they turn around and just completely blow it. And that's really frustrating. And frankly, the Dunlap Lawson thing was a problem this week, and neither one did anything to assert themselves. Dunlap had 1 tackle, no assists. Lawson had no tackles, 1 assist. But I was more curious about exactly what we were doing with the offensive line or the defensive line, because at one point we had Lawson and Dunlap in, and we lined up Hubbard at defensive tackle, and Reeder was out. This is in the 1st quarter. This is not when Reeder got hurt.
Right. Okay.
This is way, way, way before this. And I was like, why? I don't understand. What is are you trying to pacify Dunlap for being upset about this situation or what? But Hubbard is not best used as a defensive lineman.
No.
He's not going to get past a right guard and a center. So that really baffled me. There were a couple other ones. Obviously, the injuries are upsetting. Reeder goes out with a knee. He got carted off. He was visibly upset. So that's not good. Because when they're visibly upset, that means that they know something's wrong. Hubbard left late with an elbow. And, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. If anybody who read my article about AJ Green and gave me grief all over the internet about why he should be a part of this team, look at the going to try not to curse. Look at the hamstring injury today and tell me that AJ Green is still AJ Green. He's not. He
I know.
is not. T. Higgins is closer to AJ Green than AJ Green is to AJ Green.
Yeah,
So all you people that are married to AJ Green, get over it. He should have been gone this offseason. We could use that 18 million somewhere else. He's not going to bust out this season. It's a hamstring, and we know it's going to hurt AJ for weeks. He might start and then aggravate it, or not start, and we'll wonder, how long is it going to be? And I'm sorry to go off on a tangent, but I'm just saying, I don't do this very often, but I'm saying, I told you so.
Okay. Well, we already spent the money, so that ship has sailed. We have AJ for the season. We could still hold out some hope for him contributing in some fashion and being a locker room presence. And then we take next year as it comes. But I told you last week that I was already starting to feel like this was the end of AJ in Cincinnati. But I'm still, like I said, I love the guy. I'm holding out hope. I'm that typical Bengal fan that, that loves our stars. But I get what you're saying. I agree with it. And I wanted to extend AJ and free up money. We could have freed up half that franchise just by giving him, adding 2 years to his deal and getting him off the tag. We could also have gotten out of maybe a portion of this year, if we had a regular contract. It's guaranteed money. AJ will get paid here and we just move on. But yeah, it's when he went out with the hammy, I was like, wow, okay.
I also
just reinforced what I already thought, but I don't want to get.
I also think it's worth. I don't want to harp on it, but
right.
I think it's also worth bringing up that before he went out with a hammy, he did not play well.
No,
and in fact was very demonstrative on a couple of Joe Burrow passes, and that's not what you need. Right. When you've got a rookie quarterback under center. I understand that AJ's frustrated. I get it. Everybody's frustrated. Burrow has had a great season. He had a bad day today. Every quarterback has a bad day. Don't show him up. Don't show him up.
Right. I agree.
Who are you? You haven't been on the field more than 18 games in the last 2 seasons. Get out of here.
Right. All right. Well, I've got now we're talking about Joe Burrow. He did not have a good game. And he admitted it himself. I'll get into the positives off the press conference, but he admitted it himself. He said, I missed passes today. I mean, he had an underneath route to Mixon. He overthrew him. That would have been an easy first down. I mean, he scrambles and fights to get out of the pocket and to get some time. He's got Mixon right there. And that would have been a nice play. There were opportunities today when we were down 17, when we were down 20, before the Michael Thomas strip, which was really the death blow to us. And you could see attitude-wise, it was a death blow to this team. But Burrow did not have a good day. The other thing is he held the ball too long. I think he had the same clock in his head that he had with Jacksonville last week. Well, this is not Jacksonville. We said, that we kept tempering our excitement last week that it's Jacksonville. Well, here you have to have a much shorter clock. There were times where it's like 1, 2, 3, get rid of the ball, and you saw Joe just that extra second or two. He fumbled a couple times. He got hit unnecessarily. He's got to speed that clock up. Today was a learning experience because this by far was the best defense we faced. And we said in the beginning, they get after the quarterback. We said in our what I don't feel good about. I don't feel good about our offensive line and the Ravens defense. So
I couldn't have said it. I could not have possibly said it any better, Mark. You're absolutely right. And it's not only the internal clock, but his, we like Joe Burrow's cockiness. We like him to believe in himself and be confident. I mean, that's what we want. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But boy, he has a really hard time throwing the ball away.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of situations where he really needs to, not just in order to end the play and not take a sack, but in order to protect himself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you never know. Sometimes if you wait a while like that and you do throw the ball away, you take a hit, you might get 15 yards out of that bad boy.
Yeah.
So, not a good day for Burrow, but I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah,
He held on to the ball way too long.
it's a learning experience for him. Now you face this kind of defense. I think we're going to see a different Joe Burrow the next time we play Baltimore. But today was definitely a learning experience. I think he'd gotten a little complacent, and I think we had gotten used to the last couple of opponents we had. The Eagles don't get after the quarterback like the Ravens do. Certainly Jacksonville doesn't. And today, we knew that Harbaugh's a great coach. He schemed up well. Burrow said it at his presser. He gave a lot of credit to their scheme. He said, they had a good game plan coming in. They executed, and we didn't execute. He didn't specifically say our game plan was bad. We're going to get to that next, but he did say we didn't execute. He thought they had a good week of practice. And then my last comment,
if I could, Mark,
if I
could, I'll just add just a touch to that. It's also I think we should note that we're giving people a roadmap right now. The offensive line is bad, and the Ravens just said, well, we're just going to blitz the hell out of this guy. And you got Indianapolis coming up. We've got Cleveland and Pittsburgh in the next few games as well.
Tennessee. And we've got, I think we go Indy, Cleveland, Tennessee, and then our bye. And then we get Pittsburgh both times after the bye. But those are all, yes, right on the horizon coming up. And
so we've given a roadmap, and that roadmap is blitz him. Blitz like crazy because he doesn't get rid of the ball.
Right. Well, and we have we had a lot of missed blocks. I mean, by everybody today. Michael Jordan let somebody write up one of the A or B gaps. I mean, it was just, our guards were terrible today. They really were.
I thought of you because listen, I'll go ahead and jump forward for a sec. Because one of my good things was that we didn't have a lot of penalties. We only had 5 penalties today, but 2 of them were from your boy Redmond.
Yeah, and I have that down here. I have that. I have down here that we're back to the human penalty flag. He's back.
And not only that, they weren't just pedestrian plays. They were on very, very important plays. He had a false start.
Yes.
And holding on plays that we could not afford it. So. Right. The right guard experiment continues, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's, obviously offensive line has to be the number one priority in free agency and the draft. We can't rely on one or the other. We have to go first, second round linemen, and we have to sign a big offensive, a key offensive lineman coming in. We're going to have to address it in both areas to go into next year. But
the whole line today was terrible.
Yeah.
Bobby Hart went back to his old ways after having a great game last week. Right. And this goes back to what I said about players doing well but being inconsistent, having a great week and then not. Bobby Hart was horrible. Alex Redmond was horrible.
Was Alex Redmond again?
Michael Jordan got called. Jonah Williams wasn't so good.
Yes.
And I understand that. He's young.
He's a rookie.
Yeah,
he's essentially a rookie.
Yeah, but the offensive line was atrocious today. But Burrow could have done everybody a favor by getting rid of the ball a couple times.
Right. So, and then the last thing I have, and I grouped all these together. I did have still no Geno. I had really hoped we would see Geno Atkins today. Certainly, when Reeder went out, we needed him. You could see Ingram runs for 14 yards in the first half, and then he rips off 50 yards on 2 runs as soon as Reeder's out of the game. I mean, it's immediate. And you just don't have the tackle in there. But
Geno played. I mean, he didn't play poorly.
I just didn't see any tackles. I don't think I have a tackle for him, so he probably just didn't show up in the stat sheets.
Yeah, maybe not, but he was in there. But losing Reeder to what looks like is going to be an extended absence, already knowing that Mike Daniels is probably out for 3 to 4 weeks
until after the bye.
It's just like you get one guy back and then boom, the other two go down.
Yeah, we still have never seen what we thought we were going to have coming into the season. One Geno, Reeder, and Daniels all together. We've never seen that.
We basically got 1 quarter out of Geno and Reeder. That's why I was so surprised at one point in the first quarter when Hubbard lined up a defensive tackle. I'm like, we've been waiting for how long to see Geno and Reeder next to each other,
and we didn't get it.
And now you're doing some weird rotation. That's not what we're paying for.
I don't get it. And that actually segues perfectly. And I grouped all these together. I'm really losing faith in our coaching staff. I mean, I just can't help it. You asked Sample to block Judah today. We talked about how
Oh
nice a
yeah.
wrinkle that was, bringing in Fred Johnson as the eligible receiver and having him block. And then you asked Sample. That's worse than when you asked him to block Fletcher Cox. I mean, what are you doing? Once again, I said it 1,000 times. Don't ask people to do things they're not capable of doing. That's just fantasy. It's like going to the refrigerator when you know you drank all your beer and opening it up like a new beer is materialized on the shelf. It's gone. You know, you're asking for something that the fridge is incapable of giving you, a beer, because you drank it all. It's the same thing when you ask Sample to block Judah. It's like, so there was that.
Well, you
had no plan.
You said that before. You said, why are you asking Sample to draw to block defensive ends? And that's the first thing I thought of. It's around, if anybody wants to look it up, it's around the 12-minute mark of the first quarter. And they put Sample on there, and Emmanuel Judah just, I mean, positively runs him over.
Oh, he was probably
just runs him over.
If they could get a zoom in close up, he probably had spit all over his chin because he was drooling as soon as he saw that's who was blocking him. He probably was I'm telling you, it's he had to be the happiest guy in the world. And I left that together. We had no plan for Andrews. Remember, we said in the preview video we talked about Andrews, Marquise Brown, and I said that I don't like playing against guys that I wanted on our team, and Patrick Queen was one of the guys I thought we might get at linebacker in the second round. Didn't happen. And here he is, you know, stripping Thomas and taking it. And then I had here. This is where I had Redmond. And then I said the human penalty flag has returned, you know, because of Redmond. So, and then we were back to forcing the ball down the right side, not pitching it to Mixon, not doing anything different. We were back to here, Mixon, go follow Hart and Redmond to the promised land, which isn't going to happen. And Mixon would get blown up behind the line, like we said on Thursday. So, we just quickly losing faith in our coaching staffs. If that's the only wrinkle they had was Johnson, and they don't scheme right. That was bad.
It's interesting. I think at right guard, maybe our next step is just to put an orange traffic cone there, because it's at least our team color.
Yeah,
and maybe it'll cause somebody to have to dance around it a little bit.
Maybe they'll get into practice mode and they'll run around it thinking it's like they have to. Yeah,
my buddy said, well, if you put a traffic cone out there, you know, at least there's a chance that it'll graze the undercarriage and slow somebody down a little bit.
Or maybe he trips on it.
Right, exactly. But I'm pretty sure
penalty if you trip on a cone.
I'm pretty sure it might be better than anybody we've thrown out there at right guard so far.
I know.
And I hate to talk about that, but it's true. The right guard situation is just such a disaster. But I was really disappointed that we didn't try to do bring in the Fred Johnson in as the sixth lineman. We didn't even try it today after we talked about how well it worked last week.
Yeah, no, and it's not just Zach. It's not just Zach's play calling, but Turner. I mean, what are you doing every week besides defending hard in in Twitter and in the media? What are you doing?
Yeah, and Turner is a curious dude, because I've got a source that I've mentioned before that says that he's really, really stubborn. So he, as a former, I think it's Marine, as a former guy in the armed forces, he doesn't take kindly to anybody else criticizing his unit. He thinks that he's the only one that can criticize his unit. Well, guess what, dude? When the unit sucks, everybody's criticizing your unit. Ain't nothing you can do about it.
No, and like I said, and the not taking correction well, I don't find that encouraging. To me, one of the things you need to be is coachable. Even as a coach, you need to be coachable by the head coach. And I know there's this friendship between Turner and Zach, but and I know Zach defends him to the end, but I questioned the hire when we did it because he was the whole Bullygate guy, and I don't know. Like I said, you did a good job last week, and then you take the week off. I realize it's the Ravens, but you still, there were opportunities. And that brings me to my last thing, which I know we talked a little bit about this before we started recording, but what's the deal with kicking a field goal? I teased them. I had the Bengals plus 19.5 on a teaser. Okay. I teased them. Everything was fine in terms of covering. They were 4-0 against the spread coming in. You don't help me with the 3 points. I mean, go for the touchdown or don't go at all. I don't care about the shutout and last shutout was here. We just want to get the goose egg off the board. Listen, guys, that was not the time. Go for the touchdown. Help your betters out. I mean, that drove me nuts. That, like I said, I like to go down swinging, and that's waving the white flag and just saying, yeah, we want this to look better in the record book. Or to be able to say that we didn't have a shutout.
It made absolutely no sense. And 2 of my good things, this is how bad it was. 2 of my good things were, way to go, Randy Bullock made a 38-yard field goal.
Oh, yeah.
And the other one was, way to go, Kevin Huber had a 50.1-yard average.
Yeah, that's
how sad is that? But I mean, seriously, somebody
touchdown.
I can't even remember who it was, but one of my friends, maybe it was Mark, one of my friends texted me and said, if you're going to kick the field goal, just take a knee.
Yeah.
Just take a knee.
Well, you're conceding. So, yeah.
I mean, I got text messages from non-Bengal fans saying, why did you just kick a field goal at the end of that game?
No one knows.
That is such a Bengal thing to do.
Yes.
And
that's a Marvin Lewis thing to do. I really expected that. That's a Marvin Lewis thing.
I hate talking like that. And, a lot of Cincinnati fans talk like that. And I hate to sound so negative because so many are. And I try to stay positive.
Right.
But when they lined up for that field goal, I was like, why? Why?
And I knew they were going to do that when that 2nd and 3rd down, they ran both times with Mixon. You're chasing a 27-0 game. You have a chance to just, put a touchdown in, feel good about yourself, go for the 2. And then the side benefit is people like me who teased you will cover. Right?
Well, I don't think they were thinking about you.
No, but I'm saying that's a benefit to your fans. And listen, if we don't have
it's a benefit to Joe Burrow too.
Right.
He just had a terrible game.
Right.
Let him toss a touchdown.
Right. And instead we parade out big Randy Bullock to kick the field goal. He's missed the most meaningful kick he had a shot at.
Fat Randy
on the first one.
The succulent pork.
So that's what I have there. Obviously, we pretty much covered everything. So let's get on to the good. This won't be a long part of the video. The good part. I'm going to say first thing.
We have to try to find the good.
Well, I left this on just because it was the first thing. The first Ravens drive of the game. We had a great situational play. I think it was Jesse Bates. We got off the field on 3rd down, held him to a field goal. That's what we needed to see.
Again.
What's that?
Bates played well again.
Yeah, Bates had a great game. I also have here, and this is a big one, and I'm wearing a defensive jersey, guys. This is actually a Delta O'Neal jersey, but this was also Pac-Man's number 24, and it's Von Bell's. And it's the defense kept us in this game. The only reason it's 17-0 at half, the only reason it's 20-0 in the 3rd quarter, and we still, if we got a score, we were back in the game if we could get a touchdown. The only reason was our defense kept us in this game. So that was
I agree. Can I interject real quick?
Yeah.
Because I had the same thing. I had that I already mentioned the penalties. 5 penalties in the game was a good thing. But the defense was my number 2. Because I agree with you. I mean, we could have gotten burnt this game.
Oh, yeah.
The way we were turning over the ball, the way we were punting. And, the defense did what they could. 332 total yards for the Ravens is not terrible.
No.
171 yards rushing but a lot of that came while they were trying to burn clock late.
And after Reeder got hurt.
Exactly.
50 yards of it was 2 Ingram runs after Reeder got hurt. So now you're down to 120. So
the only negative about the defense was that they were they dropped, by my count, 3 or 4 interceptions.
Yeah, I was going to get to that too. That's I was going to talk about Logan Wilson playing very well. But if he could have gotten that second one, I mean, he hit him right and he's bobbling it. And it's over his head. You know, he ends up because he's on his back trying to secure it. And there was
Sure.
another interception that we could have had that would have been absolutely huge. I can't remember who.
It was Darius Phillips. He was
Yes.
rushing the quarterback, jumped about 10 damn feet in the air. But that's why he's a cornerback and not a wide receiver.
Right. But if he comes down with that, he's literally gone. That's a pick six.
The whole
attitude changes.
The ball hit him in the hands in the backfield. That'd have been a big one. And there was at least one or two more that we should have had. But I'm not trying to make this a bad thing. I agree with you. I think the defense played really well. The problem was because the offense couldn't execute by the end of the third quarter, the defense was just gassed. They were just tired of having to run back out there every 4 downs without a sustained drive to give them time to catch their breath. But I thought the defense played very well, especially missing Mackenzie Alexander. We would have liked to have Mackenzie for Mark Andrews over the middle. But and there were a couple of misses. The one toss sweep they did really early in the game that everybody got fooled on.
42 yards.
One of those linebackers has to stay. One of those linebackers has to stay on the other side of the field, or a safety, or a DB. But they all went to that side. But
and I give credit to Harbaugh for that because that's once again it's stuff he saw on film. He came in with a good plan, and it segues perfectly into my last good thing, which was, and I had this one thing on here, going for it for 4th and 4 on the 37. I talked about Burrow not throwing underneath, but I did like the fact that we were going for it, you know, and he had the first down. That was you're really, like I said, we had to stretch for good things here. But that takes me to my last thing, which was Burrow's presser. And I just listened to it briefly in bits and pieces. But he, first of all, he's always so composed and so collected. I mean, he's looking like a vintage Tom Brady in his Patriot days, the way he's taking questions, fielding it, nothing rattles him. Somebody asked him a very detailed question about if a player, another one of the offensive linemen screwed up. And he said, point blank, he said, I can't answer that. You're asking something specific. We've got to go through and break down and watch every play, and I'll, can answer that later. But I like the fact that he's not just defending his players, but he realizes, hey, you know what? You asked a real technical question. I've got to look at the footage first. So because the press tries to bait you into answers, then the headline is, Burrow doesn't believe in this one guy, that kind of thing. I like that. He took it on himself. He said he wasn't accurate today. He didn't play well. And then he acknowledged the D played well today. We did not support them. Now, those might not have been his exact words because I haven't seen the transcript yet, but everything, that's one of my positives. Like I said, one of my positives has nothing to do with what happened during the game, but was Joe Burrow after the game. Just still always impressed with this guy.
Yeah, I think I think people fail to remember that it's not how a quarterback acts in a press conference after a win. It's how a quarterback acts in a press conference after a loss. And you're right, with the composure and the very matter of fact, we didn't do this, we didn't do that. And Burrow's great at being able to point out plays and say, on that third down early in the third quarter, boy, that's really going to bug me. I'm not heaping praise on him because he had a bad day today, and like we said, held on to the ball too long. There was one where I yelled at the TV. I said, it's not LSU anymore because he stepped up into the pocket and thought he was safe. And
he bought himself time, but then he needs to get rid of it.
And that's when Patrick Queen came up behind him and crushed him from behind. I'm like, if you step up with this offensive line, you better be ready to get rid of the ball.
I thought when he stepped up, I thought he was going to let the ball fly, and he stopped and started scanning the field and then got hit from behind. And I believe he fumbled on that play.
Yeah, and you can't do that in the NFL. But I agree with you. And there were a couple shots of him during the game when he was one of the announcers, even I think it was Rich Gannon, even mentioned it when he was in the huddle. He had that look on his face, and he's directing traffic, and this is a rookie.
Right.
And he's, I think they had just had a terrible play. They get to the huddle, and he's talking to this guy, talking to that guy, talking to this guy, talking to that guy, and saying, this is what we're going to do. And they're all listening to him very, very intently, which says a lot. Obviously, there's a lot of growing pains with any rookie quarterback. But, you know, this is my broken record take of the week. You still have to like what you're seeing out of Joe Burrow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was a tough game. It's going to happen. Baltimore's a good team with a good defense. But you have to like what you see as far as, like you said, as far as composure from his kid, whether it's in the game, in the huddle, or during the press conference.
Yeah, no, it's about, and this was, like I said, this was a learning experience for him, because he probably came into this game thinking, okay, I've got the timing down, but he's now realized that when you play Jacksonville,
right,
you know what, take it minus a second. You know, you have one less second or 2 seconds when you're playing Baltimore, that you don't have that type of play. So, all right, well, that's what we have. We're licking our wounds. We're coming home. Gosh, I hope Readers is not long-term. I hope AJ, you know, heals his hammy and contributes. I just want him to contribute. I know he's not going to earn the paycheck. And I think about this. I don't know if I mentioned it to you, but I always think about how much different his season might have been if he doesn't get that OPI in week 1. He automatically catches the game-winning touchdown against San Diego. It's a different conversation. You know how it's just one thing. I'm a golfer, and I can be struggling. I could be struggling off the tee or whatever, and having one good hole can really spring, and it can be just a great approach and a great putt, and that springboards you. The next thing you know, you go par, birdie, and it's like and it's the same thing here. I just think he could have been on a different path, a different chain of events if he doesn't get that OPI, but he did and he didn't. And
Mark, you're obviously a better golfer than me, because I don't even need one good hole. I just need one good shot or one good drive, and I'm like, it's all worth it. It's all turning around.
No, and I use golf a lot because it's a mental game, and that's how fast you have to have the shortest memory in the world when you're golfing. And it's the same thing in football. You know, Randy Bullock walks up, can't think about the last missed kick. He has to think about this kick. That other stuff's in the rear view mirror. I talk about not living life in the rear view mirror. That's what it is. You have to have a short memory, especially in golf. So,
well, you know, as a fan, you need a short memory too. And my girlfriend would tell you that I qualify.
Yeah. Oh, okay. There you go. So, well, with that, we will be back. Once again, remind everybody where they can find all your stuff, Sam.
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at Buy and Sell You, or I write for Primetime Sports Talk. You can find us at Talk Primetime, and we do a 2-hour sit and start fantasy football question and answer session every Sunday, starting at 11 Eastern, right up to game time.
All right. Well, we will be here with the preview video. We've got Indianapolis coming up. Doesn't get any easier. We've got another tough defense on the road next week. I know that being on the road isn't like what, because you don't have the fans there, but we're still not at home, and so we'll play Indy next week, and then Indy's take that 90-minute bus ride home to Cincinnati. But
they got a great defense, man.
Yeah, it's gonna but they don't have the offense, and Phillip Rivers. We're familiar with Phillip Rivers, so. But still, it's going to be a tough one, and we will preview it. We'll get it up again on Thursday night, and please subscribe. It's all I ask is that you subscribe to this channel. We don't ask for Patreon money or anything else, so please subscribe. And with that, I will say hoo-day. Have a good rest of your Sunday, and we will catch you on Thursday night.
Hoo-day.
Take care, everybody.